In previous videos, I've covered the topic of side quite comprehensively. But obviously, some people out there are not quite grasping the whole concept of it. I make that judgment purely from the questions I'm being asked about the subject of side, how much do I allow, where do I aim, etc. Right, well the first thing is, let's assume I'm going to pot this black. If I'm going to pot that with right hand side, then the cue ball will initially get pushed to the left. How far it will get pushed to the left as it goes forward depends on a lot of things. The first thing is the cloth. Is it a fine cloth? Is it a coarse cloth, a heavy nap? If it's a very fine nap, then obviously the cue ball will get pushed offline more. A heavy nap, it will get pushed offline less. So that's taking care of the cloth itself. The next thing is the cue. If you play with a thin cue, then generally speaking, and that's what we've got to put in perspective, generally speaking, the cue ball will get pushed offline slightly less than it would with a thicker cue. The next thing is whether the cue is flexible, whippy, or rigid and stiff. Again, some flexible cues will push off more, some stiff cues will push off more. Individual things just happen as they happen. There's not a lot you can do about it. If it doesn't suit your game, change the cue. The next thing is the tip. Is it a soft tip or a firm tip? A soft tip, generally speaking, grips the cue ball more, so again, it will push offline more than a hard tip. I know of one professional snooker player, very good friend of mine, he likes his tip rock hard, and he plays with quite a thin cue, and he maintains that when he plays with side, he's getting almost no deviation at all. So to him, that's how he likes to play. So let's take care of that then. The first thing is, as we push the cue forward with right hand side, the cue ball will get pushed to the left. I need to make an allowance in my aim, because if I don't, the object ball will hit here or here or here, depending on how much it gets pushed offline. The next thing, of course, is how hard we hit the cue ball. The harder I hit it, the more it will get pushed offline. Then there's the skill of the player himself. And this is what I really believe in. This is the one element beyond all the others. The better you hit that ball, the less deviation there will be. By that I mean the timing of the shot is better. I've discussed timing in one of my previous videos. Please have a look. You know, it tells you an awful lot. Now, for me to demonstrate this, rather than using side, what I'm going to do is use a screw, right? Because it'll show you what I mean a little bit better. For both shots, I want you to be aware, I'm going to be hitting the cue ball in exactly the same place. Right, but one will be a poorly timed shot, the other one hopefully will be a nicely timed shot. So here what I'm doing, I'm hitting the ball at 6 o'clock, not timing the ball very well at all, and I've still got screw, but I haven't got through the ball, I've hit at it rather than hitting through it. So you'll see that. Now if I played use that same technique when I was applying side, I would have had to allow an awful lot in my aiming process. Because I've hit it rather poorly, rather stabbedly, then I would have pushed that cue ball offline quite a lot, and I'd have to allow for that in my aim. Whereas, if I hit it better, I get through that ball nicely, the timing is good, I lengthen my swing, I relax my grip, and I get through the ball, allowing the cue to do the work, right? You'll notice that I get far more spin on the cue ball, far more action. Now I've hit both balls in the same place, hopefully at the same strength of shot, but because one, the timing is better. If I was using side on that second shot, then I would have had to allow less in my aiming than I would on the first shot. Purely and simply because I've hit the ball better. I keep coming back to that. It's so important. You know, this is why the top boys are so good. They hit that ball nicely, right? And that's where the amateur struggles. He's got to improve that strike. If you relate it to golf, when the golf pros are teaching amateurs to play golf, one of the comments they always use is amateurs hit at it, professionals hit through it. Well, that same principle applies to snooker or to any other ball sport. You know, if you're kicking a football, you need to kick through it. If you're hitting a cricket ball with a cricket bat, you need to hit through it. Same with us. We need to hit through it with this cue. Get through that ball, your timing will increase and the shots will increase. So that comes down to the skill of the player. Right, as I've said on a previous video, I will hit the ball better than a beginner. Ronnie O'Sullivan will hit the ball better than me. So I allow less than the beginner. Ronnie O'Sullivan allows less than me. It's as simple as that. So improve your technique and you will have, purely and simply, you will have to allow less. There is another school of thought, right? That if I play this shot slightly above the black with a touch of right hand side, and I'm playing it quite gently, that the cue ball will get pushed out to the left and then drift back on line, and we're hardly likely to allow any allowance at all. Well, I disagree with that slightly. Yes, it's true that if you're playing with the nap, it will get pushed out to the left and then drift back on line. If you're playing against the nap, it gets pushed out to the left and then pushes further offline. I've mentioned that in one of my previous videos. Here, we're playing across the nap, further complications. Plus the fact we've got a minimal distance between the two balls. So yes, it'll get pushed to the left, but there's very little time for it to come back online. So the way that black appears that will come out online is friction, because when we play the shot, this cue ball is going to be travelling forward, obviously, but also in an anti-clockwise direction because of the side I've put on. And when it hits that black, that gets kicked to the left. That is friction. I've also demonstrated that friction element in one of my previous videos. Please have a look. So here, I'm attempting to pot the black with right hand side. I'm aware that it's going to get pushed out to the left a little. I'm also aware that that black is going to get kicked to the left a little. So there is almost no need for me to allow almost nothing, you know, because I'm only playing a gentle shot. So here, a little touch of right hand side, and I mean a little bit, not a lot at all, and just smoothly get through the ball. Almost no deviation at all. Now, if we come to playing this from the same position, but now with left hand side. Now I'm aware that people will disagree with me. I haven't got a problem with that. In fact, it's good for debate. Yeah, it's good that people do disagree, because then we get talking about it, and then we get talking to the point where we get into that debate, and eventually we come up with the answers. This is my feelings on it. All right, so from here I'm playing with left-hand side, and even the pros will prefer to play this shot with right-hand side than they would with left-hand side. Why? We're only applying the same amount of side. Well, to my mind, it comes down to the friction between the two balls again. So here I'm playing with left-hand side. It gets pushed out to the right. Yeah, so I've got to make an allowance for that. So now this cue ball is traveling in a clockwise direction. So when it hits this red, right, that should get kicked to the right. And indeed it does. But it does not get kicked the same amount as if it would with right-hand side. And the reason is because on the right-hand side, I'm going into the body of the ball. Here, I'm coming away from the body of the ball. So the actual throw off is not quite so much. So I can assure you that most players, and I'm talking at professional level here, would prefer to play this with right-hand side than they would with left-hand side for that very reason I've just mentioned. So here we're playing with left-hand side. I've got to be very careful. So I hope that clears that up to a large degree. There's only one real way for you as a player to determine how much you're going to allow, right? And that's to get on that table, practice and experiment, okay? Good luck with that practice.